Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to replace an ABS sensor on a 2007 Mazda CX9. This same procedure will also work for the Ford Edge and also for the CX7. So if you're looking for some details on how to replace an ABS sensor and get rid of those 3 lights of death on your dash, then stay tuned. Alright, I have placed several examples on this slide so you can see what the indicator lights look like. Generally they're going to be one for ABS, one for the slip control, and one for the traction control. It's going to be some type of combination of those 3. And when you see all 3 of those together, 95% of the time you're going to have a bad ABS sensor.
Alright, so when you see those 3 lights come up on your dashboard, 95% of the time what that means is that your AB sensor has gone bad. One of the ABS sensors. Okay, there's 4 ABS sensors on most of your newer vehicles, one on each rim. In my particular case, on this Mazda CX9, I had the driver's front go bad, which is this one right here. And this particular sensor works off of the front wheel drive unit and not off of the magnetic bearing inside the wheel hub. Okay, some do. Some actually, the sensor actually goes through and then goes right over the top of the wheel bearing, and it's magnetized on that one side, which creates the signal for that ABS sensor. Okay, but in this particular case, the driver's side went out on me, so I'm going to replace this ABS sensor right here. And there are probably a dozen videos on how to check to see if this sensor is bad. If you've got an ohm meter, you can put an ohm meter on the other end that connects into the system. It's right under the hood, which I'll show you in a little bit. You can pull this out and put it on that and spin this, and when you spin the rotor, it'll create a signal and you'll be able to see it on the ohm meter. But in this particular case, I know this one's bad because I damaged it when I was doing some front end work. So I know where I'm at. I'm going to go ahead and take this off and go ahead and get this out. This is generally these are 10 millimeter, but they could be just about anything, any size. You're just going to have to work with it, decide what size it is. So I'm going to grab a 10 millimeter and I'm going to go ahead and take this off, and then take each one of these connectors off, and then I'll go in underneath the hood and work it off from there until I get to where I can replace that. So I'll go ahead and get to it, and you can just keep watching. Some of these are difficult to get out. Some of them, you know, you have to pry out. I've even had to go as far as take the actual bracketing off and drive them out. Hopefully this one won't be near that hard. Okay, so I've gotten this pretty much loose, taken out. All of these around the wheel housing have all been taken out, and now I'm ready to go ahead and go up in underneath the hood and see what's up there. And now I'm going to have to trace this, but here's basically what you got: sensor, and then you got a couple different snaps. And I'll show you the replacement sensor cable, because they're set up differently because they're made for multiple vehicles, so they'll have extra snaps, different things. But you know, just basically take this out, and then what we're going to do is put the sensor in and then retrace it back up and put the snaps in where they belong. The others are just extras. So I'll go ahead and set up for underneath the hood, and then I'll be back. Okay, I'll hold this as steady as I can. Unfortunately, my cable was underneath the battery box on the driver's side, so I had to remove the battery box, to get to this cable. You can see it right here on the firewall. So now that I've gotten to it, you can see it, and you can also see right here, this is the connector that goes into the ABS system. So I've got everything down to that. Now I'm going to go ahead and take that off, and then I'm going to compare the cables to the other cable, and then I'll start routing it back through from the bottom up, and then we'll connect it. So I will be back in just a couple minutes. All right, for video purposes only, I went ahead and took the air box out so that I could get a clear video of it, because otherwise it was just going to be too tight in there for any kind of viewing. Just so you can see, this is a pretty simple connector here, and I wouldn't have done all that if it was just me, but since it's for the video, I just went ahead and did it. But this is the connector right here. It sets up against the wall like that, and I went ahead and took it out of its bracket. And this is just a simple push down. You just take that, push that down like that, just pull that out. There's the cable. It's completely loose. Just go ahead and run it through the hole, and we're done with the top. So I'm going to go ahead and set up again and show you the difference in the cables, and then we'll put it back in. I was going to do a quick comparison video of the new cable versus the old cable, but when I went to do the comparison, I actually had the wrong cable from AutoZone. They sent me a cable for the rear, driver's rear, instead of the driver's front. But this is the new cable. It's a Duralast SU12405, and that's the right cable. I had to take the old one with me to make sure I got the correct one, so I won't do that comparison this time. But this is the new one, and I've already done the check on it. It looks fine, so I'm going to go ahead and get repositioned with the camera, and then we'll go ahead and start installing it. Okay, this is the last thing I want to caution everyone on. When you're putting that sensor back in, this sensor has got to be flush with this. If it's not going to go down far enough to read properly. And I've made this mistake, so don't you make it too. So make sure that you take the extra time, you check all of these teeth, make sure that they're all nice and smooth, there's no any dirt, grime, whatever. Make sure your sensor's good, smooth, and then that the holder for the sensor is completely clean. Nothing is keeping that up off of that, because this has to be flat, okay? Right on the very top of that sensor with no play in it, okay? And make sure it's all seated completely down. All right, so that's the last tip. I'm gonna go ahead and put the sensor in, tighten it up, and we're finished. Okay, I've got everything cleaned out. I went ahead and took some fine sandpapered this off inside, made sure the outside of it was nice and smooth and flush. Make sure there's no issues, burrs or anything, scars on your new sensor. And it should fit just like that. See how nice and flush that fits? It should fit just that flush. There should be no spacing whatsoever. The sensor should be right down flush on top of the teeth. If you've got it like that, then I'd say you're in pretty good shape. You can go ahead and put the screw in it and tighten it up. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. But it needs to be just that flush, and you don't want to have any kind of rust or anything inside there. Take the extra time, trust me, because I've done it wrong before. So make sure you take the extra time, get that clean. Just tighten this bolt up, and we'll be finished. If you want to torque this down, you can. I usually don't, because I just go hand tight with it. Now that's completed exactly the way it should be. Everything nice and flush. All your teeth clean. If they're not clean, go ahead and just take a little sandpaper or whatever and just go over the top of them. Make sure they're nice and flush. Okay? All right, we're ready to wrap this project up. Okay, we're pretty much finished. All I need to do now is just connect these two. right here. Snap that in. Go ahead and put this back in place on the sidewall. Just like that. And basically it's complete. What I've got to do now is put the air box and all the other things I took off just so that I could have a clear video. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and once I get done I'll be back and we'll give this a start and see if our lights are going away.
Here's my last tip. I put the vehicle back together again, and when I started it up, the 3 indicators were still lit. The reason that is because the ABS system has to reset itself. The only way it'll do that is if you take the vehicle and drive it around the block. So make sure you do that, and if you've done everything properly, those 3 lights will go away and your job is complete. If you like the video, please give us a thumbs up. If you've got any questions or remarks, please leave them below, and have a great day.